Hey y'all, welcome to Lay It on the Line. I'm your girl Jamila. Today I had the opportunity to interview Miss Stacey Williams. Stacey Williams is the founder and owner of Love Has No Disabilities. She is also the author of Jacah'S Ladder. Before we dive into their story, please go ahead and hit the subscribe, like, and share button. All right, thank you. Let's talk about it. Hey y'all, it's your girl Jamila with Lay It on the Line, and today I have special guests, Jacah Jefferson and Miss Stacey Williams. Miss Stacey Williams is the founder and owner of nonprofit Love Has No Disabilities. Welcome, Stacey, to Lay It on the Line. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? I'm glad
good.
to be here.
I'm glad that I could get you guys to sit with me and talk with me today. Today we're going to talk about Jacah and your nonprofit organization. But before we get started, can you tell everybody where they can find you at on social media?
You can find me on Love Has No Disability Inc. Also Jacah'S Ladder. That's JACAH' Ladder. And then my social media is Stacey Williams Crews CREWS.
Okay. How did we come about Love Has No Disabilities?
Okay. Love Has No Disability was created. First of all, it started off as a lullaby that I used to sing to Jacah. Love has no disability. Love has no deformities, and our hearts are made the same, even though we all look different. I took it from there to, it was a hashtag, and honestly, it's our lifestyle.
Okay.
I had a very good support system when Jacob was growing up, and I just want to be that support system for other parents, caregivers, and grandparents.
Okay, so it's more so a support group for other people that are going through the same thing, raising someone that have severe or some disabilities.
Correct.
And what are some of the things that you will experience at your organization?
So we share resources. If there's something, a way that I know you can get a free vacation, I'm going to share it.
Right.
If you need a listening ear, I'm that listening ear. If I can take you out to dinner or even come and babysit your child so you can get 5 to 10 minutes of a breath, I want to be that person. My organization wants to supply that.
Good. And I'm pretty sure that's something that anybody that is fully supporting someone that's 100% dependent on them, you're going to need a break sometimes. And a lot of times family, they get too busy for you, but with your organization, you can understand and empathize with that person. Hey, let me come sit with your child. Go take a break.
Yeah, self-care is very important, and I know from experience because February 28th of 2024, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Thank God it was benign, but on April 10th of 2024, I had brain surgery.
Oh, wow.
So self-care to me is a 911 situation.
Okay.
So not only me, to any caregiver. At what point did the brain tumor form? We hold in a lot of stuff with what we do.
Right, it's a lot of stress, I can imagine. Okay, so with Jacob, what is his disability, or what caused his disability?
So Jacob is the victim of shaken baby syndrome. At 5 months old, he was brutally shaken and beaten by a trusted family friend of his biological family. Our love story, the twist to it is that Jacob is not blood related to me. He's my step grandson. And from the shaken baby syndrome, we're left with seizure disorder, cerebral palsy, developmental delays. He's nonverbal. He's wheelchair dependent. Now, as you see, he has a trach, and he's G-tube fed now.
Okay. So on a typical day, what does that look like for you from start to the end?
start to finish. We have a morning routine where Jacob gets up. Jacob goes to the potty.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the bathroom. He gets his feed. He gets his meds 3 times a day. Several changes. He has to be transferred in and out of the chair. Thank God we have a lift system in our house where I don't have to actually pick him up anymore. Jacob gets his hair cut every week. Jacob loves to dress nice. He likes his bling.
Yeah.
So typical teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just in a different way.
Yeah, he's sharp. I like those shoes he got on.
Thank you. This is our Sunday's best.
Okay, Sunday's best. Y'all both look nice.
Thank you.
All right. So from the shaky baby syndrome and talking about the abuse that he experienced, is counseling provided for him, like outside of your home? How often are you, like with most kids, you just take them to the regular once a year physical or something like that? How often are you going to like doctor's appointments or anything with him?
Oh, Jacob has many specialists from head to toe. I get him checked for any and everything, even with his wheelchair. So his doctor's appointments, we have to get the wheelchair tuned up like it's a car. So it's often, maybe every 2 or 3 months, we're at some type of visit.
Right, so that's where that self-care comes in at. All right, tell them once again where they can find information on your organization, Love Has No Disabilities.
Love Has No Disability is on Facebook. It's Love Has No Disability, Inc. You can always find us on Jacah'S Ladder, where I share our life after shaken baby syndrome. Or my personal page is Stacey Williams Cruz, Crews, and my first name is STACY, no E.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Okay, so recently you were on My Fox Houston and you had an opportunity to tell your story. And the story was something that happened with Jacah, and you had to call the ambulance, and that didn't really work well in your favor. Do you care to share that story with us today?
I can, really quickly. I called 911 because Jacob started a new medication. He hadn't slept for a few days, and once the medication got in his system, he went into a deep sleep. That's what I thought. But the 2 EMT'S that showed up, they touched his wrist. Oh yeah, Mom, he's gone. One of my main concerns is that Jacob hadn't urinated all day. For a medically fragile child, not producing urine is a 911 situation. So after that, debated with them for about 20 minutes. They would not do CPR because they had already said he was dead, and I knew he wasn't. Second set of paramedics pulled up, and someone from that set actually did CPR on Jacob.
Oh, wow.
We made it to the back of the paramedic, sat in the parking lot for another 5 to 7 minutes because they said they needed a supervisor's approval before they could move the paramedics. And that's not true. We've been to the hospital many times in the paramedics, and it's immediate. I feel like they felt like they were transporting a body and not my son.
And there was no urgency to it.
There was no urgency. And according to the paperwork, they said the delay in transport was traffic.
Okay, so when they came into, I just want to make sure I'm visualizing this right. Your son, he's not responding to you. You call the ambulance. They come out. They check for a post. They don't find a post. You tell them, like, no, I'm not accepting this. What happened after that? Like, how do they just say, because he's clearly alive. He's right here.
Absolutely.
So
the debate was, they kept saying, ma'am, what do you want us to do? Ma'am, he's gone.
CPR.
And exactly.
So with that, with him doing this, with you doing the CPR, or them refusing to do the CPR, it's simply because they're telling you, okay, he's already gone.
He's already gone.
At what point did they discover that he was still with us?
Well, I started to scoop him up to take him to the hospital myself, because if you're not going to do it, I can put him in my vehicle and do it. That's when one of them said, would you like for us to do CPR? That's why you're here. I mean, if you notice that he was in a dire situation, do your job.
Right.
So they, one of them picked him up and headed towards the living room. Jacob began to throw up. If he's dead, how is he throwing up?
Right.
The other guy that was standing in the door with his hand on his hip, as we passed by, he said, I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to take an act of God.
Mm-hmm.
And God showed up.
Okay, and he showed out. So,
Mm-hmm.
were there any impactful side effects to them taking a long time to try to resuscitate him since he was supposed to be unalive?
Yes, and what people don't understand is, yes, Jacob already had brain damage from the shaken baby syndrome, but the additional lack of oxygen, while we are debating on, ma'am, what he wants to do, ma'am, he's gone. On top of that, Jacob has not been able to eat by mouth since.
Oh, wow.
He's fully G2 fed now.
So he didn't have a trach before then, to where he had to be fed through a tube. He was able to eat in his mouth.
Yes.
And then after this incident where they wouldn't give you CPR when they first got there, it caused him to now have to be tube fed.
Now he's tube fed, and the trach came later in 2021 because I believe the additional brain damage. He caught pneumonia and he wasn't able to fight it. He was on ECMO for 65 days. We stayed in the hospital a total of 126 days. Now, this is not January 26th when the firefighters, EMT'S didn't resuscitate, but it's the same year, November of 2021. We had went 14 years and never had pneumonia.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, his immune system is low. He's not able to fight off a cold that turns into pneumonia. So that's why we have the trach, because he was intubated for 60 days. They finally had to replace it with the trach.
Okay. So I'm sure you asked to speak to someone like in higher management, the supervisors of the EMT people. What was the result of their negligence?
Well, the result of their negligence was a 7-day suspension. And to my understanding, I believe firefighters are 7 days on, 7 days off. So you got extra vacation time.
Right.
While my son stayed 31 days in the hospital. And we're 4 years out and he's still not able to appreciate food. We live in one of the fattest cities.
Right.
And he can't take advantage of the one thing that we overindulge in, and that's food.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to him.
Thank you.
All right. So with this interview that you had on My Fox Houston, I know that a lot of people had some feedback for you, and everybody have opinions.
Yeah.
But would you care to address anything that you felt like might have been misunderstood from that interview?
What I want to address is within a 5-minute segment that you see, the whole story is not going to be told. So, of course, there are lots of things missing. But by no means does my son not have a beautiful quality of life. By no means was it fair for somebody to come in and play God and say, no, he's dead. We're not going to try to help him. By no means am I looking for a handout. But what I am looking for is them to be accountable for what they did. I want to prevent it from happening to you, the naysayers. When it happens to you, when it comes to your door, hopefully me advocating for my son will prevent you from going through what I'm going through.
Right. I mean, it definitely gave me some insight on some things like I didn't know. I've never heard of qualified immunity before.
Yeah.
Can you tell us again exactly what that is? Who does that benefit, and how did that affect your life?
Well, I had never heard of qualified immunity outside of police officers. When there's a killing or something undercover going on with police officers, I hear qualified immunity. I didn't know that it existed with our EMTs.
Right.
So as a special needs parent, just anybody, if an EMT can show up at your house and look at you and refuse to help you, they are protected by this umbrella called qualified immunity. And I believe it protects like the city of Houston.
So basically what you're saying is I can call EMT, say that my child is unresponsive. They can look at my child and tell me, oh, well, he's gone already. Then a couple of minutes later, my child starts coughing, and now he has some kind of side effects from it, because when you got there, you was like, oh, he did. When you misdiagnosed him, nobody's held accountable because they're protected under qualified immunity.
You're in the room. he's in the room.
It's very unfortunate.
It is.
Okay. So another thing that I wanted to talk about, you have a book called Jacah'S. I'm so sorry.
It's
Jacah'S
okay.
Ladder.
Yes.
What is that book about? And
So-
when does it come out? If it has it come out already?
Yes, July 14th of 2023.
Okay, where can we find that?
It's on Amazon, and I also have
Hard
books
copies?
myself.
Okay.
And also at our gala on January 19th at the Humble Civic Center, I will have a vendor booth where I'll be selling books. But you can basically find it on Amazon, but it's JACAH''S and then Ladder. And Jacah's Ladder basically tells our love story.
Okay.
I call him my son, but he's actually my grandson from a previous marriage. But I've had Jacob since he was 7 months old. So the twist to our love story is that we've been in love since he took his first breath. This is the first birth I've ever seen, and I've had custody of him since he was 7 months old.
Oh.
And now this grown man is 18.
They grow fast, don't they?
I'm not ready. Yes,
know.
they do.
So tell us about this gala.
The gala is my 7th annual gala and talent show for special needs individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I put on this gala because when you look at Jacob, the first thing you want to know is what happened.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 7 other special needs individuals that's going to tell their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important. I wish the city of Houston, firefighters, EMTs, police officers could pack the room, because you will see living, breathing humans that have real stories, that live real lives despite the wheelchair, the trach, the G-tube. Despite all of that, Jacob lives a full life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Life After Gala and Talent Show. Whatever fills in that blank, we're going to explain it to you.
Okay. And what can we expect if we were to attend this gala?
There's going to be talent, there's going to be food, there's going to be music, and then you'll be a part of our world. You'll see us interact with our children. And a lot of times we don't get invited to the party.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a time for our special needs families to get dressed up, come to a nice gala. If you have to bring your suction machine, we're not going to be offended if you suction your baby at the dinner table. That's just a part of life.
Right, right. I think that's very healthy. And you're right. Like, I think sometimes people are uncomfortable because
Mhm.
it's different and they don't know how to act, or they don't want to offend, or we tend to tiptoe because we don't know if
Mhm.
you're going to be offended by some things. But this is a time where everybody can just come and be comfortable and don't have to worry about anything, because you're in your element and you're around other people that's going through the same things that you're going through. So where can we find tickets or buy tickets? Is it too late to purchase tickets?
No, today is the very last day to buy tickets at 7 o'clock. They're on Eventbrite. You can look up Love Has No Disability, or you can look up The Greatest Show on Earth, because that's our sub theme. And it's going to be the greatest show on earth.
Can anybody purchase tickets at the door?
There will be an overflow price of $80 at the door. Tickets are $65 on Eventbrite right now, and then it will be $80, and it would have to be cash, Cash App or Zelle at the door.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so before we wrap up this interview, if it was anything that you could share with somebody that you think would be beneficial or helpful, anything that you can tell anyone right now that would make you feel like I've accomplished something today, what would that be?
One thing I want to say about shaken baby syndrome, babies are born and they cry. That's what they do. It's okay to lay them down. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to walk away. If this person would have just walked away and let Jacob cry, or walked away from whatever argument they were having with another adult, this would not be a life after shaken baby syndrome.
Right.
And I also want to say, unfortunately, I do have a phobia of calling 911. It's not every EMT. It was just 2 rotten apples that showed up.
Right.
But I don't know how to get over that. I can't take a chance of someone else coming in and pronouncing my son deceased, or just not caring for him because you're judging him by what you see and not what you see.
Totally understand. Yeah, I'm sorry that that happened to you guys. So hopefully what you said today, it helps somebody to see things differently, you know, because I can't imagine, I don't want to have to imagine what it is or what it was like to hear somebody tell you that your son is dead. I know that you probably was relieved and felt like thank you God when you saw that he was still with you, but just to hear those words, that I can see why you would have PTSD for that.
I never doubted for one moment that my son was alive. He wasn't alive. I knew he was. I knew he was, but it was just the point that maybe they were having a bad day. Why show up?
Right. I know my mom told me that I'm a twin, so that's one person dealing with two little babies, and of course they're gonna cry sometimes. She told us that her older sister said, "Why are you worried about those babies crying? Just turn the music up and close the door. It's not gonna kill them to let them cry." I guess she let us cry. We here today. We ain't died from it.
Exactly.
So you don't have to take your frustration out on a baby, somebody that you should be protecting. If they crying, let them cry. Close the door, turn the music up, and go get some time to yourself. And when you calm down, then you can go take care of the baby. Like they say on the airplanes, you got to put the mask over you first and help yourself out before you can help somebody else.
And that's their language. They cry when they're hungry. They cry when they need to be changed. That's the way they communicate.
Yeah.
So are you going to discipline them for communicating?
Not at all. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me here at Lay It on the Line. We are sponsored by Who Made Their Visuals, and we do always try to give our guests a keepsake so that you can remember us and for giving us some time. Babe, where are those? All right, we're gonna go ahead. I'll give it to you in just a moment.
Okay.
But thank you guys for watching, and remember that you can hit the like button, hit the subscribe, or you can go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Lay It on the Line. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you.
Love has no disability. Love has no deformity. Our hearts are made the same, even though we all look different. When I look at you, all I see is love. When I look at you, all I see is love. There are some of us who loves and loves with no condition.